probably wouldn't take a lot of your time to have to watch out for. But as we've probably been seeing already today, some of that stuff is where the claims are coming from. The things, it's not the rodeo and the demolition derby. We expect claims from that, and that's where we're putting all of our time and effort towards. But a lot of the little things that you wouldn't think twice about generate claims as well and issues. So we've got both Wendy Sandberg from Washington County Fair and Paula Martin from Sevier County Fair that are going to talk to us a little bit about some of the things that they've identified over the years that looked like low risk issues, but really turned into, there's some real issues there, things that you need to watch out for. So we're going to start with Wendy. Wendy is from the Washington County Fair. She's also the president of the Utah Association of Fairs and Events and a member of the International Association of Fairs and Expos. So, help me welcome.
I've been at the fair for about 1989, what does that make it? 24 years. I've been the director for 15, I think. So anyway, I lost a bet, and that's the reason I served my first year on the fair board. But then I really liked it, and I saw what good the fair did for our community, and I just wanted to be a part of it. So I just went through all the steps. And so here I am.
Wendy,
Yes,
what was the bet?
we don't have time for that. I was trying to get my boss elected as county commissioner, and I worked for an insurance company. I worked for the Levitt Group. And so he was running for commission, and he says, well, why don't you represent us on the fair board? And I said, well, if you lose, I will. If you win, I'll be too busy with you to do anything with the fair board. Well, he lost. So that was the bet. Paula and I have been asked to talk about low-risk activities for the fair. Definition of risk is exposure to the chance or injury of loss. Definition of activity is anything you participate in, any involvement, any action on your part, anything. So knowing those two things, name a fair activity that has no risk at all.
Reading.
Freebie. Is there one? I don't think, is there, Johnny? I don't think there's one fair activity that is risk-free as long as there's participation and the chance for anything to go wrong. So hopefully these workshops that we attend and all these things that help us become aware of potential risk, but that still doesn't keep problems from arising. Back when I was brand new and I wasn't really thinking of safety, I was just thinking of putting on a real good, fun fair that was different so that people wouldn't stay home and say, well, I've been to the fair, I'm not going again. I was just concentrating on what new things could be at the fair, and safety was probably, and I admit, I didn't even think about it. I just thought, hey, this is a cool thing to have at the fair, and we're going to do it. But some of the low-risk things that I thought were low risk or not potential hazardous, they turned into be some of our problems. And our fair is too hot to have a livestock show, so I'm sure that many of you have livestock shows as part of your fair. We do not. Ours is in 2 weeks because of the heat. Our average heat is about 100 to 102. So we've really got a nightlife there. People start coming about 5 o'clock to have dinner and then go to all the things, even though we're open at 11. So you have to have animals at your fair, so we have like a little animal education center, little petting zoo type of a thing. And one year we had a horse, and this mare had a little colt, and so we put her in this pen with the bars and said, do not touch and do not feed. Well, there was a teenage girl that she just had to feed this baby colt. And even though we had signs up and people there to watch, she still was trying to feed this little colt. And she'd take handfuls of hay and try and put them through the bars. And the horse bit her. And it drew blood, and she started screaming. And the people over the animals, sent her over to the EMTs, which was just fine. They they washed it, they put a Band-Aid on it, yeah, it drew blood, but it didn't need stitches or anything. So she was fine. But people are sue happy when they need money and they can think, well, we can sue the fair because this is where this accident happened. We had witnesses that were willing to say she was teasing the horse, she was kicking and making noise, the mother was getting nervous in there with her little colt. So we had witnesses saying that she was teasing and taunting and bringing this on. And so therefore she dropped everything and she knew that she couldn't go any further than that. But animals are always a risk. These are the benches that we have at our fairgrounds. We use this as an Eagle Scout project venture. We try to keep 40 to 50 redwood tables at our fairgrounds. They don't last too long. We move them with a forklift and they're not put down so easy and the inmates carry them and drop them and everything, but at least it gives the Eagle Scouts some knowledge and how to do woodworking and stuff. And so we think that's a worthwhile venture. Anyway, one day, a huge woman at the fair, she was huge, about the size of her. No, she was bigger than you were. And I don't know weight stuff.
She was the queen?
She was, whoa. She had to weigh a lot. She sat on one of these benches and it broke. And so she was right here on the corner, and where it broke, and then a piece of the wood went into her thigh. And she needed it taken out, and she needed stitches, and she needed everything. Well, is the county liable for that? So our county attorney worked with her, and she was going to sue us too. But what it came down to is, her weight. She chose to be her size, and I think, and I don't know if it was an older table, if it was more flimsy or anything, but we paid her medical bills, and then everything was just settled. So who would think there'd be problems with your picnic tables? Parades. Parade is a big part of our fair, but when you throw candy, and if you can see all the little white papers there, that's all candy, and then the kids want to run out into the street and get their candy. Well, that was stopped, because that's our police officer over there, and he stopped that a few years ago, and he says, no, if you're going to throw, he says, you cannot throw candy from a float. You have got to hand deliver it to the kids, hand deliver it to the curb, and no kids will run out into the street. And that didn't even cross my mind until we had issues and problems with kids running out into the street. We have eating contests, and we have Fair Factor, where you eat weird stuff like dog food and onions and just different things like that. And before we have the contest, we take all the 20 that sign up for each individual contest, and when they're sitting down at the tables, we tell them, we says, are you allergic to anything you're going to eat? And we videotape them when we're giving them this little talk. You're going to get sick. When you have an eating contest and you gorge yourself, you're going to throw up, probably. So here's your little barf bag, and you're doing this for your own free will choice, and you've got to just accept what comes after. So we've got big garbage bags and throw-up bags and everything for them, because they're going to probably throw up. So this one girl, and it's not her, but we had one that, have you all had a brain freeze? I mean, it's terrible. So when you're eating this ice cream and you get a brain freeze, well, one girl said she had one, and she went and laid down. She says, I'm going to die, and my brain freeze isn't going away. How long does it take to go away? 10 seconds, I think, is what I've experienced. Well, she went and laid on the ground, and she loved the attention she was getting, and we think that was the problem. She loved the attention, and so she just played it and milked it for all it was worth. I'm going to sue the county, I'm going to do all this, I'm sick, I'll never be the same. And sometimes you get people like that. But that was all, talked out and resolved, and she's just fine. But those kind of things, you got to deal with them. We have a half a marathon and a 5K walk run So we put right on the application that they've got to be in good health and they've got to have done this before, and they can't come back on the county. If they collapse, if they have a heart attack, if anything happens to them, they cannot come back on the county. And they sign that along with their application. We're one of the 2 fairs in Utah that have boxing. And I used to have to get boxing insurance for this, and it was $800 a fight.
A fight or about?
A night of fighting. It's $800. And we used to have, way back when I was a teenager, going to the fair and going to the boxing, the highlight of the whole fair was to watch those drunk Indians get up there and fight. That's what everybody went and paid for, is to see the locals and the drunk Indians fight. But then we started having problems. And so now, and that's when we had to get the insurance too. They had insurance on the fighting. But now it's come to the point where every fighter has to be registered through the Utah Amateur Boxing Association, because they have the insurance and they're going to take care of anything that happens or goes wrong, or broken noses and different things like that. They take care of that. So we don't have to worry, and I don't have to buy insurance. Everything's fine, because that's just the point that we got to. We just can't take anybody off the street and have them box. That's the fun way, though. That's the best way.
Well, they just don't box in the ring, they box out in the park.
In the parking lot. Right. One of our radio stations wanted a real big promotion so that they could talk about it on the radio for a week and get everybody out to the fair. They decided to have it on a Thursday night because that's our slowest night. So they decided that they were going to have cash giveaways, and they were going to get ping pong balls and number them, get in a lift, and drop the ping pong balls, and the people were going to go get the balls and win the cash. Well, I really wasn't in on the planning. They planned it all, and they came to me with this proposal, and I just thought, well, so if you're taking care of everything, if you've gone over your list, is everything going to work? Is this going to be fine? Oh, yes, we're going to have so much fun. We're going to get so many people at the fair for you. And so it was a disaster. So you can see it happening, Jim, huh? They put the ping pong balls in a flat box, and the DJs got up in that lift. There was hundreds of people in this area. So what happened? Can you imagine what happened? They did. So he gets up in the lift, takes his cardboard box, and just flings the ping pong balls, thinking that they were light enough to just drift through the air and get to everybody. Well, they didn't, and they just fell in one spot. So all the people were just jumping on each other, and people were knocking the breath out of each other, and we had a broken rib, and people that were almost dead if the cops hadn't come. And then, well, they were there, but they were there like that and started pulling people off of each other. And that was a disaster, because we didn't think everything through, and we didn't have a practice run. I think practice runs are really good to have, especially with something like this. You've got to do it beforehand. We didn't have any problems. We didn't have any suits or anything like that. People were really good about it, but we'll just never do that again.
So these DJs were young enough that they had never seen the WKRP in Cincinnati. Yeah, that was an episode at WKRP in Cincinnati. They brought turkeys out of the helicopter on Thanksgiving Day. They thought that was a great idea. One of the biggest events we have, and I'm sure you do if you do a demolition derby, that is the huge event for us. That's our #1 money maker, even though we pay out half for prizes. We only seat 4,000 in our arena, and we sell out every single year, like 2 days before it even starts. And the problem was that it had some downtime when the wreckers were coming in to get the down cars, so we needed an event in the downtime. So we started off with some rock crawls.
So we put these rocks out here, and at first, we called everybody out of the audience, bring your four-wheel drives, and the first one over the rocks in the limited amount of time would get $100 and a trophy. So we had these people coming out of the stands, getting in their trucks, lining up, and going over the rocks as fast as they could to get that $100. Well, they signed a waiver first. If anything happens, if you tip over, if you get your gas line punctured, whatever, it's your problem. They didn't care. They wanted to be seen in front of 4,000 people, and they were ready to go. So we did have a few problems, and there were some problems with, especially brand new four-wheel drives. There was one that it was really sad that happened, and he never came back on us. And then we hired some of these people to just do a show and go over it. And one night in 2006, a teenage kid with an Astro van drove up in the arena and said, "I want to go over the rocks." And the demolition derby guy said, "No, it'll never make it. You're going to ruin your van. You can't jump an Astro van over that." And he says, "If I set some ramps up, I can jump the rocks and I won't even touch them." So we had him sign the waiver, and he went for it. And it was the biggest hit. Oops, I'm going backwards. It was the biggest hit of the whole fair. Everybody was talking about it. It went viral. It went on YouTube. I don't know how many hits it's had since then, but he went over the rocks, and it was just amazing. So
He
we
made
did
it.
What?
He made it?
He made it. He made it. So he came back the next year, and I think this is the next year because he got all professional and put this everything on it, put his business on it and everything. So, anyway, so he did it the second year, and then the third year, he was deployed. So everybody was looking forward. You gotta go to the Derby, the van jump. It's so awesome. Well, he was gone, and we couldn't find anybody to take his place. We couldn't find an old van. So we thought that we would have a bus jump, a school bus jump. And the guy in charge of our derby, now be quiet, you gotta listen to this. The guy in charge of our derby owns a salvage yard and a towing company.
Wow.
He had just been turned in a school bus, a 40-foot school bus, and he said, "I know how we can replace the van jump. We can jump this bus." We all got so excited. We thought, well, everybody's going to come to the fair to see that. This is going to be the #1 hit of everything. Well, we were so excited about that event, we didn't check all the safety issues. And so we went and got t-shirts. See, there's our t-shirt, the bus jump at the Washington County Fair. We got those before we even did anything because we were so excited we were going to hand them out, and that was going to be part of our advertising. I don't know what my next slide is. I don't want to show it to you. So anyway, we took this to the county. We took it to the police department, and we took it to the fire marshal. We took it to our county. Oh, there's Matt. Well, this is the guy. He stripped the bus. He put shocks by the seat so that when it landed, he wouldn't be hurt. He took all the glass out. He did everything he said was so safe. It was so safe to do. And he got everything ready. And this was all before we even got the okay from anybody. We just jumped the gun so bad. And no one wanted to assume the responsibility and liability for this stunt. Hurricane Police passed the buck to our county emergency guy and to the county commission. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. They told us not to do it. Our fair facility guy, Gary Brown, told us not to do it. Emergency gave us a list of everything that had to be in place before we were supposed to do it. This is so anyway, we needed 200 yards of a runway to get up to 40 miles per hour to make the jump. So and it would have to come in through the public parking lot to get a running jump through the arena on this. So how are we going to make that safe?
You can do it.
We thought we could. We thought we'll have bodies lining up the 200 yards for the acceleration right in the parking lot. We'll have bodies holding up that little snow fence. They'll all have a little light. People will see them, and we'll have radios and big megaphones and say, all right, we're ready to jump. Nobody cross the path of this bus while it's accelerating. The bus was 8 tons. It weighed 8 tons and it was stripped. And it was still that heavy. So we thought we had everything in place. In fact, this is, I even brought with me, this is what my guide said, this is his safety rules and everything that was going to be in place for this bus jump. It was going to be okay, and the county was going to be recognized throughout the world for this school bus jump. And he had the map, and he had everything in place, and he took it in to get it approved. And our safety guy with the county said, no. He says, are you crazy? We already had our t-shirts done. We already had part of the advertising done. And he said, he gave us so many things that we had to do in place, put in place, that it was going to be too cost effective. I mean, it wasn't going to be cost effective. It was just going to be a whole ton. He wanted the Jersey barriers. He wanted chain link. He wanted no parking for so many yards. It would have taken a big chunk out of our parking. We had to get our own insurance policy on top of the one we had. Anyway, it was just a lot of headaches, and so we canceled it. So then we had to hurry and quick come up with something because we hadn't prepared. So we had a plan B all put in place. So we painted it, he found a van, and this is our mini school bus. A short bus. So anyway, he says, this will take the place of it, we'll be all right. So we presented this plan to our safety, and they okayed it. But the clincher is that this is going to jump through a motorhome, a fiberglass motorhome. That's what's going to make it so fantastic. It's not going to just jump over rocks. It's going to go jump through. So here's the pictures of what happened. What's the matter? Are you scared? So here it comes into our arena, and it's accelerating. It didn't need to be in the parking lot to accelerate. Here it goes. There's the motorhome. Went right through the motorhome. And out the other side. And it was wonderful. There it goes.
How's like driving?
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's great. It's harder with the red lines.
Yeah. He was good, and he calculated everything. He's also one of those people that can calculate everything, so he did a good job. But this is what took place. So sometimes, I guess my point here is make sure you have everything in place before you get too excited and jump the gun on things, and get it approved way beforehand, and make sure everything is in place for your safety, and always have a plan B that works. And this is our hold harmless agreement, and I'm sure that all of you have one in place. I heard that they don't stand up in court, but they do, don't they? I mean, there's a reason for it. So you put their name in there, acknowledge that participation at whatever event it is at the Washington County Fair is dangerous, and I hereby assume the risk of participating in the event. I also agree that as part of the consideration of entering and participating in the event to indemnify, release, and hold harmless Washington County and its officers, agents, and volunteers from and against any and all loss, damage, injury, liability, and claims arising out of participation at the event, Washington County Fair. So anything like this that can be put in writing. And we were even talking, Johnny and I thought, well, maybe we should have like one that we all use, or making everything kind of the same. Would be good. Anyway, that's what I've learned, and we've never had a claim with the USIP. We've been very, very lucky, and I'm going to start being better too on my safety. I love this. Thank you.
You can imagine my surprise when I got that call. Johnny, we're going to have a bus jump, and I said, well, what are you going to jump over top of the bus?
Oh, you can remember that?
Yes, I do. Go ahead, Paul.
first 4 years to the second 4 years at our fair. When I came into the fair as director, and you all know this, coming into a position like that as a director, you're learning with everything that you do. Every year that you have, you've got something memorable for that year. I'm sure you all do. So you write them all down and learn from that. The first 4 years, I don't think we had any rules. I'm sorry. But we didn't know what rules were. Our buildings were old and icky, and we just wanted people to come to the fair, didn't matter what the consequence. And I don't know that we've had too many claims then, at least then. So I kind of blame some of the accidents that we've had on those old buildings and old facilities, and then we had all brand new, and then we had new accidents because we didn't know how to prepare ourselves for them. And so I went through all my pictures, and you just don't take pictures of the bad stuff. I decided. So some of the things that I am wanting to talk to you today are, okay, this is, on this handout that I sent, we would all think that all stage entertainment would be low risk, right? Because you sit in a chair and you watch the entertainment. Well, the first year with our new facilities, we had a grand opening, and this is it. And about 10 minutes after that picture was taken, I'm thinking, we had a windburst come through. It was at like 1:15 or something like that. The speakers that you see over there, our sound man, and you can see all his mess there. He's gotten a lot better now, but because he learned too. Anyhow, this windburst came through and knocked those speakers on the floor, on the ground. It was that bad. And there was some tents over that I don't have a picture of. Later I do, that I'll show you. They went tumbling too. No one was hurt, but his speakers were. Well, he sent a claim, right? Because county's liable, right? And I don't know how it all ends up on the other end, but he was really upset. Well, you know what? Maybe it should have tied him down, we're thinking. Okay, so anybody up on the stage, you would think they would have their cords, and I don't know, I'm sure you've all seen entertainers trip and whatever as they're up there. Well, those all need to be taped down. This next picture, we had a magician. This is on the old stage, and this is why I blame old stuff. We were so glad we tore down the bleachers too. Everybody complained they wanted to keep the old bleachers, but we had someone come in and look at them, and they said, "I can't believe that they're still standing." We were dirty dogs for tearing them down, but could have had a catastrophe. So we had a magician, and the next picture probably, yeah, see how the ramp comes down? When he was in the middle of his act, he fell through the stage, and bless his heart, he just went on with it like it was his act. No one even knew, and then after he comes limping over to me and said, "I need to go to the hospital," and I said, "Did that hurt you? You never even said a thing," but he was very professional about it. And I don't know if there was a claim or anything on that. He was really good about it. We took him to the hospital, he got checked out, and his insurance probably took over. But, okay, so what do you do about that? Was we liable? Yeah, we probably were. But he was really good, fortunate that we didn't. Okay, now here's the craziest thing you've ever heard. It didn't end up being a liability, but it could have been very bad. I think it was the same year. It's the next year. We had a hypnotist. Some of you already know this story. It's really weird. This older lady gets hypnotized in the middle of the day. And, no, it was in the evening show. Well, 11 o'clock, we're still in the exhibit hall, because you know how we work long hours. I get this banging on the door. "You've got to come out here. There's a whole group of people out there. This lady is still hypnotized." We could not wake her up. And she was just, all by herself. She had a gentleman friend with her, and he was just being weird too. We're like, "Can you take her home?" "Well, I'll say I can." "Okay, never mind." So this, and I said, can you please come down here? He's like, oh, she couldn't be, and I'm like, yeah, she is. I had to tell him 3 times to please come down and do something with this lady. I can't just leave her in the parking lot alone with this guy. Anyway, on his way down, I thought maybe I better call the sheriff just to see, and he said, take it to the emergency room. Oh, are you kidding me? Okay, is this the county fair's liability? This lady's still hypnotized? Well, anyway, one of my helpers is a home health lady. She knows the guy and the lady, and she trusted him to take her home. And we called and checked him, several times. The next day, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, she finally wakes up. Wow. So what the hypnotist told me is all made sense, that she, was really sleepy and had a big day, and anyway. Okay, go figure. Could that have turned into a bad situation? The people, the public that was concerned about her, they're like, you're gonna let her go with him? What about? They were freaking out, so, yeah, how do you deal with that? So you think a hypnotist would be a low-risk activity, right?
No.
We have permission slips or waivers if they're, and that's something that I learned here, for talent contests, like your karaoke contest, any of those. We make them sign this, and if they're under 18, they have to have their parents' permission slip. Otherwise, if they're over 18, it's worded a little different. But I would suggest all of you to have your talent contestants sign that permission slip. The next thing, that's what the stage looks like now. She just took the whole thing out. So I guess my point is there, make sure your stage is secure, and kind of like Andy, we don't have ours tied down with it. It's not a temporary thing, but we'll just go check. The magician was a little heavier guy, and the groundskeeper, and that's him right there. The groundskeeper lady, she's pretty lightweight. She's like, I bet walk on that 100 times. Well, Yvonne, you're 100 pounds, This picture is, I don't know if you guys use these plastic chairs, but we use these, everything for outside. She's really good about checking them. They break so easy. And that right there is a remnant of a broken chair. That's why I put that picture on there. We've watched people just be sitting there and collapse and, get hurt. They've gone home, haven't heard anything from them, but that could be a potential hazard as well, a stupid long chair. Our fairgrounds, like I say, is very new, 4 years now, and as I was talking to Yvonne, she thought, I just went outside and up this uneven sidewalk. Where did that come from? So you guys that have older facilities probably don't have to worry, but maybe you do, I don't know. But a daily walk through, like Andy said, doesn't hurt, and that's the other side. I just don't know where that come from. This is on the lawn around the sidewalks.
Can I throw something in on that?
You bet.
I just went through with the ADA, handicap folks, and anything on your concrete that's an inch differential, now it's an inch. So you've got to keep compliant to an inch now, that's the new reg.
And most people are the first to let you know that they will shut you down. I've had an incident the first year when the building was new, our thing was under construction. And he wasn't handicapped, but he got mad over something with his jelly. That's another story. I got sued, and you didn't know about it, for $1 million. He never turned the papers in. But anyway, like I said, that's another story. He was going to shut us down, and he was going to call the ADA and everything, because we were not handicap accessible yet. But the building department approved for us to have the fair because we needed the building. There was a lot of things that were not done, but we had doors to shut at night, and those people are very loud. So beware of those people. But anyway, on this, with the lawn has kind of sunk out of sight where the plumbing is, or the irrigation or whatever. During the fair, she'll put garbage can or something there. And this one's really bad. We can't do anything about that because that's the train. So she'll put one on both sides of that. That one's really, really bad. I see us having problems with that one someday. But just be aware of your of your facility, because someone in a wheelchair that, wow, or, I mean, just walking, we had a car drive off it, and, yeah, it's, just needs to be paid attention. Well, the grassy area is just past here, and so they'll drive across to get to the stage or whatever, but yeah, he drove his truck off that. Loose branches, somebody mentioned about that, the wind. That year that I was saying that the speaker fell, a huge branch broke and fell, and there was nobody around that in the tent, so that could have been a very potential, a bad accident. And electrical, as she was talking about electrical, I'm in charge of the Balloon Festival in Salina as well. And last year, I cannot believe how stupid kids are. We had a stage downtown where we have to bring in a generator for the electricity for the band. And they had a youth dance on the Friday night. And some stupid, it makes me mad, so sorry if I swear. Stupid ass kids went back there and urinated on that box, the electrical box. How dumb could they be? I wish that they would have been jolted just a little bit, but it shut everything down. It shut everything down, everything, the sound, everything that was to do with that dance. I wish the cops would have just told them to go home, but they hadn't realized what was going on. But can you imagine had that had hurt them bad?
They've never done it again.
No, it would have certainly. Okay, this picture I had to show you. It's not a very good picture, but the picnic table that's over there, they're metal and there's holes in them, you know, on the seats and in the top. And this was the first year. Well, it seems like there's been a couple of years we've had beehives everywhere. Some years are really worse than others. There's, I was sitting on a table like that for one of the lunches, and when I stood up, it's surprising I didn't get bit. Because I looked down, and in between them holes, they were just everywhere. And then we had a little girl who I had to call the ambulance. She was sitting on one of these that she'd been stung by a bee. I had to call the ambulance because she had a reaction, and oh, brother. So she just has cans of wasp spray everywhere because you don't know where they're at. We've had them stung out at the rodeo arena lots of times. So she'll just tie a can to one of the panels out there. So just beware. This is a wire that has been strung across where our pigs, the hogs and the sheep are, to hang some shading, you know, for the hogs. Well, the inmate crew hooked it up. Well, the dummy, they forgot it was there. It was like the next day. He was on the four-wheeler, come zooming in, and just cut his head wide open. So they had to haul him to the emergency room. And then, not that probably would have been a hazard for your people, you know, your fair patrons, but for your own people, your workers, safety for your workers are important too. So beware of ropes and banners that you may have hung that may be swinging or whatever. And I took a picture of this. Going back to that guy that complained that we were not handicap accessible. In the Living Arts, after we get all set up, we make a walkthrough and make sure that all these aisles are wide enough for a wheelchair, because we have had people complain after we've got set up, well, I can't get over there, or I can't get behind there. One time we had what was this last year, somebody donated a little cutest thing ever. I wanted it for something, but I don't know what now. Stand about this tall, and it was glass shelves. Well, the edges were sharp. We've got it all set up and put everything on there, and I had to tell them to take it down because they were sharp, and I could just see a kid running into that and splitting their head wide open. So do a walkthrough, make sure your aisles are wide and there's no pointy edges anywhere. Contests, food contests. I'm sure you all have food contests of some sorts. We do a different food each day, like a cookie and a chocolate and each day. the first year or two that we've done this, they would bring their plate in, they'd be judged, and we'd take the plate back out on the table for them to pick it up with their prize. We found that people were coming in and just eating, that like, stay away, don't eat that, but people are quick, especially if there's food. So we wrap them up tight and say only the owner can pick this up, because what if they got food poisoned because these people don't have food handlers, or, you know, they're just a homemaker making you some cookies or whatever. We do, I'm sure you all do pie eating or ice cream. We do a root beer guzzle. Beware of those kind of contests that may choke. We did a hot dog contest, and I worry about it the whole time last year. Oh, what if they choke? What if they choke? Because we all know we don't give our kids hot dogs. Why would we make people eat them really quick? Or marshmallows, the same thing. But there was only a dozen or so people that showed up for that, and it all turned out okay. I'm not doing it again because it was not worth the worry. I don't want anybody choking. With the small animals, this happened just last year. On our, I'm sure you guys all do this, but on your rules, when they enter their exhibits and animals, we make them sign a waiver saying, I agree to the rules. And in the rules, it says that we are not responsible for loss or injury to any animal or article. We had a chicken get stolen, and the little girl was so mad, and the mother come back and said, you better replace my chicken or I'm going to sue you. And I said, well, you know, we're not responsible for lost or stolen articles. Show me where it says that. I had to get this out and show her. And I said, and see, you signed it. She'd forgotten, but we replaced the chicken to make her happy, but come on over at the chicken. I start to get mad at these people. Beauty pageants. We had them sign, the little girls, we have them sign that permission slip again. And in that, it says, you know, if they get hurt and all that good stuff. A couple of years ago, we were setting up for the Miss Teen pageant, and I made everybody involved sign one of those or a volunteer form, because on our volunteer form, it has the same thing. You know, I'm responsible if I get hurt working for you. I think there's something about workers' comp in there that she added. But we were, you know those bars that you pull down on the stages that you hook stuff to, and it has the curtains and all that?
Like the light rods and the light rigging?
Yeah, there's just tons of bars up in there that you pull them down and you hang stuff, the curtains or decorations or whatever. But we had just put it up with some stuff on it, and they didn't lock the deal. That thing come crashing down, and that little girl was like this. Oh, I just made her go home. This scared the crap out of me. If that would have hit her, she would have been really short. But yeah, can you imagine the liability there? She was just a girl there helping, a little girl. She wasn't a contestant. She was a sister to one of the contestants. So you never know what's going to happen. And with the prevention of that, I guess make sure you lock the bar. I mean, how do you prevent the unknown? That's the bad thing. The next little section I consider as medium risk. I don't know, is it bounce house high risk or medium risk? You said you had some claims on them?
Yeah, mostly because the kids get out of turn, you know, they're places where they're not supposed to be.
Yeah. We had an incident last year, and I don't think you guys ever seen this claim, because I hired that bounce house lady. I hire her, and I sign a contract with her, so she has the insurance. So the insurance doesn't fall on us. But the last day of the fair, he's a little guy, and probably smaller than he should have been. But anyway, another boy jumped on him, he broke his arm, and they come back like a week later and said, we broke his arm, or he broke his arm, you guys, here's the bill. And I just said, you call the bounce house lady. And she was a single mom, and you feel bad, and you have to be careful what you say, and all that. But yeah, it all went to their insurance. And while I'm talking about that, well, let me tell you another incident we had with one of these. And you can see that she's got it tied down, and I'm assuming all of yours would be too. but the same lady, she was really new at this, and we didn't have any contract with her or nothing. But for the balloon festival, I had her bring a big slide. Another burst of wind come through and ripped up the tents, and she was able to get all the kids off of there just in time, but it took her for a loop, and it did break her arm. But it landed like 3 fields down from where it was at. And so what did we learn here? I'm like, Joanna, why didn't you have it tied down? Well, there was no wind. Well, don't assume, you know? So she never, I think her bounce house was ruined. And I don't know if the county did, I don't think the county did anything for her because there was no contract, no nothing. I'm not sure. But we all learned a huge lesson with that one. Make sure they're tied down and make sure they have the insurance, the liability insurance. All contracts, I don't know if you guys all do this or not. I work really close with our county attorney because he is a fun hater. And I have to beware of he'll tell you that himself. I'm a fun hater because every time I go to him and say, can I do this? No, not only no, but hell no, you're not doing that. So any time there is a contract involved, I have to stamp that, we have a little stamp that he has to look at this first, and I can pass these around if you, does anybody else do this? Yeah, some do, some don't. He looks at it first and he'll go through and he'll cross off what he doesn't like. And sometimes it's a lot. And like this one, there's not one thing he changed. He only added, I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to look at it. The terms and something. I can't turn the page. Sevier County Standard Terms and Conditions. So he'll add that. So like the bounce house lady, you know, she can come back to us and say, well, you guys pay. You know, I'm not paying, you pay. No, well, you signed this. This was with. So if you guys want to look at them or not, but he signs it, then I have to run it through our clerk auditor to know that the payment is coming and what money is being paid out and all that. So he's never rejected anything, but he's crossed off lots of stuff. There was one instance a couple years ago, I didn't run this by him, but he called me and said, what are you doing? Because anything that is a risk at all, I run it by him, say, can we do this? Or can we have, you know, the bears, or can we have any of this? Yeah, sure, let me see the contact. But I had a contest called the Dazzle Your Bra. And some of you have heard of it, I'm sure. But he called me and he said, oh, what are you doing here? And I'm like, just read it, read it, read it. Don't forget, everybody has seen a bra. They're decorating bras, they're not modeling them. Anyway, he mellowed out and everything was fine. But that's how close attention he's paying to what I'm doing. So you need to work with your attorney because he is keeping you on task for what you can be liable for. Okay, the big windburst story. I told you about the first one. So the very next year, we learned from the first one, knocking the speaker down, okay, we need to tie stuff down. You know, it's a new facility. We need to be more aware, you know, more new rules, whatever. So the next year, I hired Diamond Rental to come and set up the tents. Nobody could have a tent unless they had one of these kind of tents. And that made my vendors mad, but oh well. So the very next year, on the same day, approximately the same time, we had a windburst come through, 1:15, and it come right through these trees right here, and I was standing over there, and I just thought, oh my hell, deja vu. It come through here, knocked all the chairs over. It pulled up one, it was so hard, it pulled up the tent roof here and pulled the poles out. And, you know, you can see the stuff going everywhere. And right next to there was these guys. This was just right around the corner. And these guys had a tent that was setting up that, just right next to that ramp. And I think they had just finished a show or getting ready for one. That tent, the wind gust picked up that tent and hit into these worthless barricades. Do not buy these. They're worthless, they're lightweight, plastic. They're for indoors only. Don't use those outside. Anyway, these old folks were about over in here and just knocked them down, and it was just horrible. Horrible way to start the fair, because, yeah, they were hurt really bad. So, these guys, I didn't realize they had a tent, and what I learned from this is all vendors, all entertainers are going to have tie-down tents, or they will not have them. I don't know if I told these guys we had wind bursts coming through. I don't know, it's been too long ago, I can't remember if I told them or not. You can see the day, it was beautiful. You know, how do you know a wind burst is coming through? But, yeah, we won't be allowing, in fact, we need to figure out a way on our contracts to state just that. I talked to Dale, about our county attorney, about doing that, so.
Paula, you mean to talk about wind, you mean?
Well, or to let them know if they set up a tent at all, we're not liable.
Will your fun-hating attorney go ahead and put verbiage in anything
Yes.
saying that this is probably, at any time an act of God, or do you already have that?
Yeah, I think it's force of nature or something. I can't remember. But these guys, it hasn't finished. I mean, they haven't been to court or anything, but they are suing the county and this outfit, the kids, the BMX guys, they're saying that I didn't tell them there was a wind burst. Are you kidding me? If we knew that, how do you know it's going to have an earthquake? We know about big earthquakes, we don't know what's going to happen. So anyway, that's our sad story about the wind. So this last year, we decided to call Wednesday, Windy Wednesday, and we didn't have any wind at all. It was nice. Yeah. So.
Just make up t-shirts?
We should have. We should. And if that tent had hit a younger couple, they would have done fine. In fact, we'd heard of other people that had gotten hurt that just left. Like one friend told me that her son's friend got hit in the shoulder and he was bleeding and everything. Well, we never even heard from him,
Well, there's your key then, just don't allow anybody in over the age of 50.
I know, but how sad. And yes, when you were talking about, be careful what you say to them. And I had learned about that. So when I approached those folks, I called the ambulance and everything, but EMS there immediately because we had people on site. I had just said to the guy, because the lady was out, I am so sorry this has happened to you. And he said, it's not your fault. That was all I said. I said, well, help is on its way. I think something on that line. So, yeah, be careful what you say, because they will remember. This is a bad picture. These tents aren't tied down. So, and look at all those folks enjoying their day. That's a potential hazard right there. Potential liability. So, you can go years and not have anything happen and everything's just hunky-dory. And all it takes is one time to ruin it. Okay, this was last year, and I put this picture up here because see that worthless? Don't buy those. We rented those kind of barricades this year to keep the people out. And we had EMS day, that's why we have airmen. No accidents. It was just, and that's a potential hazard right there alone. But everybody knows they were coming. We warned everybody. Everybody was standing back. Had lots of EMS guys there warning people, the loud. But you have to be aware of things going flying because that can hurt people too. Okay, I'm out of time, really quick. This one is the first year we had the new facility, we had to come up with all new pens. And we bought new pens, but you can see there's rebar there. The first year, no rebar, they were just on the stand, and they just kept falling over, as you can imagine, but nobody had thought it through. Nobody had done the walkthrough, full of animals and all that. So the next year, they got rid of the liability and put the rebar so they're stable. And then the year before, this same year, not this year, but the year before, somebody went there and let all the animals out. And so we had rabbits and chickens and all that everywhere. At 2 o'clock in the morning, we're all scrambling to put the animals back. We found them all, so it worked out okay. So the next year for last year, we put that gate up. so we wouldn't have somebody come back and, so it's a pan within a pan, and then we locked it at night, so you guys probably all do something similar, but these are the things that I've learned, that I'm passing on. That's how I learned from you guys too. Let's see. What else? Oh, the mud run. You talked a little bit about the mud run, didn't you? Last year we had a mud run, and the kid took his shoes off, just like he talked about. Well, they warned him. They said, "Don't take your shoes off." He said, "No, I don't want to ruin my shoes." Well, he cut his foot, and a month later, we didn't know about it, but a month later he comes to my office and he said, "Here's my hospital bills." And I said, "What for?" "Well, I cut my foot at the fair." "Well, okay, how come I didn't know about it? The fair was a month ago." Well, anyway, to me, that was his own fault. But the first question that was asked was there a permission slip signed? Well, there wasn't, because I wasn't in charge of that. Another group does the mud bogs, and so it fell, actually, the sheriff is in charge of that, and I'm not sure where that's at either, but I don't think the county's liable for the kid taking his shoes off, myself, that's my opinion. Animals, yeah, we have the stock show, we've had a few people injured out there. I don't know how that falls, because they're a different entity that just comes with the fair, or is at the same time as the fair, but I'm sure they all have their preventive, or the stock show is their own people, but I'm not sure how it falls under the county, but I know they've had it. What?
Is that 4-H?
No, it's the Southern Utah Junior Livestock Show. So anyway, and I don't know if the folks, I know just 2 years ago we had an injury, and I think he just took care of it himself. But E. coli, we've all heard that terrible word. Just be preventive. This year, we hadn't even considered that till last year. We'd gone to the E. coli workshop, and I don't see it ever happening, but you know, that's what thought did. So we have to prepare for it. So she has sanitizers, and you know, you guys all know that. Preventive there, in the petting zoos. Something, I was looking at pictures, and a couple years ago we had a bear show, and he was really good about putting up a gate and everything, but oh my gosh, what would happen if that bear got loose? So, once again, make sure that everything is secure, and it's good to go there. Heat is another one. Wendy talked about how hot it is at their fair, I can imagine. But just beware that people they don't realize they're being heat stroked. Make sure that, okay, a couple more. Oh, I brought this picture too because pony rides and train rides. We hired this guy to come give rides, and I had complaints that this guy was just being crazy in the parking lot, and they had slammed their brakes and everything. He's coming back again next year, but we're going to have a sit-down meeting about how to not kill the kids. And that's all the pictures, I think, yeah. But a couple more things, incidences that we've had, and this is just crazy too. We had fireworks on the Friday night of our fair, and a couple years ago we had a gal who the fireworks spooked her horse and tipped her over and hurt her bad, and yeah, you need to just warn, especially around the rodeo, the animals, make sure all the animals are in their pens before the fireworks start. And last year we had a gal who is afraid of fireworks. I'm not sure why she came, but she came barreling out of the arena where the fireworks were being and passed out, and was having some sort of shaking fit, and had to call the ambulance. And I don't know that that's the fair's liability or not, but it sure makes a scene at your fair. And like you said, it puts a label on your fair. So I'm not, just warn people, warn them that this is going to happen in 10 minutes. If you don't like it, go home. I'm out of time, so I just made a bunch of ideas on there. With low risk. I learned by everybody else what they've been through, and I hope that, again, I don't think you can prevent the unknown, but at least we can sure try. Wind is the biggest thing that's happened at our fair, so we try every year to make it one step closer to being perfect. So, anyway, thank you.
Great. All right. Thanks, Paul and Wendy. really helpful. A lot of little stuff that you just don't think about. You think it's gonna be pretty easy to deal with, and it turns out not being so easy. We're gonna keep marching right on through, so why don't we just take like 5 minutes quick to get a fresh drink, and we'll get Rick and Lance up here and talk about some of the things that came up today about, who is it that